Okay, I want you guys' honest opinion on this. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. I want to talk to you guys today about something that was brought to my attention earlier this morning. I was over on True Crime Cafe with Dago's channel, and a couple of his viewers were talking about this in the chat, and so I went and did a Google search, and I want to read you guys the very first article that I found on the subject. Now, the subject, as you know from the thumbnail and the title, is about the fact that there are families of King Road that are trying to reserve their right to sue at a later time. And I just kind of find that interesting that this is being brought up and mentioned right now in the middle of this crazy rush that's happening in the case itself. There's been quite a bit of standstill, and then the past week and a half or so has really been almost non-stop stuff happening. As most of you guys know, we had the arraignment and a couple other hearings take place yesterday, and now we have a trial date and several other things coming up in June. But I want to go ahead and go through this article with you guys, and again, I really am trying to comprehend exactly what it is that the family is trying to do. I don't have any sort of malicious vibes or anything when it comes to these situations, at least nothing right now. You know, I feel like Kaylee's family has been very strong in all of this, but I don't know, I'm just trying to figure it out. Okay, let's go ahead and go over this article. Okay, now the first one I found when I was looking for this morning was from ABC, and it says, Idaho college murders. 2 slain students' families reserve right to sue Moscow, documents say. Now, I haven't seen these, at least not that I can remember. But again, I'm sure it'll pop up eventually. I don't know if this is going to be on the Idaho website where all of the official court case documentation is being held. I'm pretty sure it'll end up being somewhere else. Okay. The families of 2 of the victims in the University of Idaho killings last fall have filed notice reserving their right to sue the city of Moscow, according to documents filed with the city. The families of slain students Kaylee Goncalves, not Kayla, and Madison Mogen may seek damages against the city for the murders of their daughters, according to the notices, which were dated May 3rd and May 11th, respectively. Interesting. So that was even before the grand jury. Huh. Okay. The notices do not specify what kind of claim the families may make. They say that potential dollar figures for damages are undetermined at this time. And I know that that right there is going to cause a lot of chaos. Lawsuits in the middle of cases like this, there's always a lot of people that end up having negative things to say about it when it comes to the family. But look, they know more about what's been going wrong and right in this than we do, and we as a public have way too many questions than we should have, okay? So I'm just going to leave it at that for now, and we're just going to go over what the article says. No lawsuit has been filed, but the claims protect the family's rights to sue within 2 years. Filing a tort claim notice is really just a safeguard. It's a safeguard to protect the interest of the families, the victims, and really the whole community around, because if something goes wrong or was done improperly, then someone is held accountable for that. Gray said he has also filed tort claims notices with WSU, U of I, and Idaho State Police. Why Washington State University? Okay. Those aren't meant to do anything other than protect the interest of the families and the victims moving forward. Early on in the investigation, Gray and the Goncalves families had expressed frustration with the pace of the investigation and what they described as lack of transparency. They've used that word a lot, and even in the last 2 little interviews that Steve Goncalves has done, he mentions the fact that he doesn't understand some of these offhand things, procedures that have happened, or what's up with all of the secrecy and the transparency. He wants everything to be transparent. He doesn't understand why things are being done the way they're being done. They have used that word a lot. Even in the beginning they did. So, okay. In a mid-December interview on NBC, Gray questioned whether the local police were capable of handling the quadruple homicide investigation and that they had done a poor job of communicating information to the family. See, again, that's another thing that Steve has been saying from the beginning. There was even an instance in this interview, it's probably this exact same one, where he said it wasn't really towards the police department or the investigative agencies themselves. It was more towards their lawyers that were handling the kind of information that could be released, and that was really more of what he was upset about. But again, like I just said, they know more about what's actually happening here than we do. I can understand why the families would feel as if the case was mishandled. We have a lot of conflicting information. Like, just for example, something that I mentioned in one of my last 2 previous videos to this, just the simple fact that the PCA tells us that they pulled Brian's information from the database at WSU on November the 29th, and on that exact same day, a completely different officer then saw the same white Hyundai Elantra in the apartment parking lot where Brian Kohberger lived, but then we're not hearing they really had anything to do with knowing who Brian even was until sometime after December the 16th. And that right there is like weeks apart. And we know the family, like I've mentioned, has been really not happy whatsoever with the way that the investigation's been going. They made that very publicly clear. As for what they can really sue them for, I'm not honestly sure. So if anybody has an idea about why they would be trying to do this towards not only the Moscow Police Department, but then they have these other ones with WSU and U of I and the Idaho State Police. I know they're stating it's just to protect the interest of the families, but if you're reserving your right for a monetary lawsuit, there has to be substantiary things that would make that seem possible. So maybe by the time everything finally gets to trial and the truth actually comes out, then maybe we'll understand this. But I don't know, as for right now, I'm just confused. And the other thing that I'm confused about is this. And I've mentioned this. This is another video that I've done a completely separate, video on as a subject on itself. I don't understand why the Goncalves family wants this motion for this gag order amendment just for their lawyer to be able to speak for them. And I verbalized this before. It doesn't seem like the family is scared to come out and talk to the public. Obviously, Steve is all over News Nation literally all the time. I mean, there was a little bit of a pause there, but the family is very public. They had no issue going to Chronicles of Olivia and doing YouTube stuff. They've been places, okay? They're trying to keep this case out there and in the open. So I feel like they could just talk to Shannon Gray and be like, hey bro, I want to say this, so tell me how I can say this without getting in some sort of trouble or by letting too much information out, but this is what I feel like I need to say. And then he give them advice on how to say it, and then they just say it. I don't really quite understand why they really need all these extra court dates and things and all these extra hours spent on this when they could literally just do it that way instead of needing basically permission for their attorney to speak for them. They could just get the advice and speak themselves like they are now. Steve is already out there in the public, so this is just really confusing about the reason behind this. If anyone can try to clarify the reasoning, please drop it in the comments, because I just feel like it's completely irrelevant and unnecessary and a waste of time. I really do. They're already speaking. I just don't get it. But I want to know what you guys think, and I want to know what you guys think about this new information about this stuff being filed. Give me your honest thoughts. See y'all.